Ex-Corporal Dawson here. My thoughts as I write. Everything's fucked. I know I've said that before. Hell, I probably say it in my sleep by now. But tonight it's got that special flavor. The kind of night where your soul feels like a half-smoked cigarette and even your beer tastes like shit. I'm sitting in my crummy one-bedroom in El Paso. Same city, different zip from where I grew up. Boots kicked up on the coffee table, watching the Steve Harvey show reruns like their sermon from the Church of Lost Causes. And what's right next to my left boot? A code red leaking skull. You ever look into the eye sockets of something that tried to eat your guts while you're alive? And now it's sitting there, jaw half open, maybe teasing my misery. I scraped it out of a red dirt pit in Texas, after a week of chasing shredded cattle reports and missing locals, old men and children. Grade A clean kill, 7-footer, bled black sludge. Thing bled like a diesel engine having a seizure. You'd think that'd be worth something, right? Tried selling it to one of the old hunters in Las Cruces. Asked for $500. He squinted at it like I just handed him a knockoff Rolex wrapped in used dental floss. Told me he might give me 80. 80 for a fucking leakin' that nearly turned me into trail mix. So now I've got a skull worth less than the beer bottle in my hand. And I'm not even drinking the good stuff. This is the kind of discount alcohol you buy when your credit card is burned off. Let me be clear, this wasn't how it was supposed to be. Back when I was still working with Edgar, things felt cleaner. Not better, not safer, but cleaner. Structured like we had a code. And the Reaper file, you remember, all the chaos inside. We bagged a vampire outside Marfa once. Mean son of a bitch with teeth like ice picks. That one bled silver. Took us 3 days to track, and when we finally cornered him in an abandoned motel, Edgar lit the room up with his old custom shotgun. Then there was the skin crawler near Tree Territory, southern Canada. That thing had a tongue longer than my forearm in horror days that messed up our psychology. We burned it. Edgar and I had nightmare for days. Demons hunt your soul. You think it's an easy way out? Killing vampires and other cryptids are a lot less difficult. And of course, the Dogman pack in Texas, that one changed everything. We walked into that mission cocky, full gear, full clip. The creatures ambushed us, no sound, just movement and blood. Edgar lost his left arm, gone, ripped clean off like tissue paper from a Christmas gift. I dragged him out under suppressive fire, using a modified flare gun and blind panic. We torched that slaughterhouse. Didn't even get to recover the body, or whatever was left of it. After that, Edgar was done. Didn't even say goodbye properly. Just sealed up his apartment like it was a damn tomb. I helped move one box, a dusty crate labeled miscellaneous tools, holy/toxic. The rest are gone. Either relocated, auctioned, or buried under fake names and untraceable P.O. boxes. Last I heard, he was in Thailand. Sent me one message: seas warm, arms still gone, don't die. And that was it. Cindy left not long after. You remember Cindy, right? That sweet, damaged girl I met off Tinder? The one who told me about her dogman sighting while on a friend's trip to Texas? The one dogman that ripped a man to bones outside the motel? Yeah, her. For a minute there, I thought it could work. She liked the weird stuff. She liked me. We had one of those broken person connections where the glue is trauma and bad jokes. But eventually, even she got tired of living in the shadow of monsters. Said she wanted normal. Said I smelled like gunpowder and nightmares. Can't argue with that. She's probably back with someone who works in a bank or sells insurance. Someone who doesn't keep holy water and silver nitrate in their glove compartment. As for me, still scraping together gas money with vampire teeth and leaking claws like I'm on Pawn Stars. Mama still calls every Sunday. Talks about God and the weather and how Estefania from church is still single. Strong hips, make strong babies, my old school mama. Could handle my temper. Probably punch me in the face if I acted out, she says. I told her I'd rather marry a skinwalker. She pretended not to hear. I think she prays for me. You'd think cryptid hunting would be easier now? The whole damn country's gone full Twilight Zone. AI chatbots flirting with people, gas prices doing the Harlem Shake. Half the country thinks lizard people run Congress, and the other half's trying to storm Area 51 for TikTok views. It's a goddamn horror show, but none of the monsters pay taxes, and I'm still broke. They built a new gas station near Montana Avenue where the tacos are suspiciously good. I keep a safe house a few blocks from my apartment, just in case. Inside silver bullets, UV grenades, a worn Bible, 2 crucifixes, and an old sketchbook filled with drawings of things I wish I hadn't seen. And of course, the map. The map's covered in pins: Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, anywhere I've gotten a hit. Most of them are old reports, but a few are fresh. Glowing red, the Leakins Trail was one of them. After Edgar left, things got quiet, kind of cryptid quiet. In Edgar's sealed apartment, before he locked it up like a vault, he'd left behind a few pieces of intel for me: red marker sketches on the plaster walls, hand-drawn maps, pins jammed into dried blood stains, coordinates scrawled in Sharpie. One stood out: Coyote Ridge, Texas. I'd heard of it before. A town where people kept disappearing, headlines after headlines of strange reports. First it was cattle, then dogs, then a boy named Wyatt, the kind of case that'd give the local sheriff endless headaches. October rolled in, and so did I. My first solo hunt. Edgar. Just me, Ex-Corporal Dawson, 5 feet 10 inches, 165 pounds of resilience, athletic enough to outrun danger. This time, I wanted to do it differently. Learn the old ways. The basics. Edgar once told me, the moment you think you're better than the beast, it'll remind you who's meat. So always adapt and evolve. So no truck or ATVs, no fancy drones or gear that beeps louder than a Walmart scanner. Just the road. I dug up Dad's old bike from the garage. A 1994 Royal Enfield Thunderbird 500 cubic centimeters, black as guilt and just as loud. Still smelled like old grease and dried blood. Dad once rode it through a monsoon with a broken arm and half a cigarette in his mouth. Classic man kind of therapy. Maybe I needed some of that. I packed light but smart. 1 weatherproof duffel, silver core Glock tucked into the back of my jeans, Scar FN and Lapua rounds wrapped in cloth, UV flashlights, a flask of holy water, don't ask, 2 flare rounds, a silver Bowie knife, and enough jerky and water to survive 3 weeks of regret. Also took a bunch of clippings from the local papers. Headlines everyone read, still ignored. 4 cattle found gutted, authorities blame wild dogs. Missing teen, 14, last seen near creek, search underway. Strange prints found on farm roof, sheriff calls it a prank. 3rd dog found mangled near old mine trail. The stories didn't stay up long. Most had been archived or deleted within hours. Classic scrub job. Somebody didn't want this becoming national news. Which meant it wasn't just an animal. Coyote Ridge was roughly 900 kilometers east of El Paso. If I took it easy, 300 kilometers a day, it'd be a 3-day ride. Not a sprint, more like a pilgrimage. I planned to crash in dusty motels along the way, places with flickering neon and vending machines that still sold cigarettes. The morning I left, the sky was that dusty New Mexico gray. Smelled like cold metal and burnt toast. I wore my leather jacket, the one Cindy gave me before things fell apart, and strapped everything down like I was prepping for war. Gas prices had me choking, so it was bike or bust. Boots on, jacket zipped, Glock kissed with silver rounds. I kicked the engine. The Thunderbird roared to life like it hadn't skipped a beat since the 90s. Single cylinder 500 cubic centimeters. She wasn't fast, but she had soul, and soul was better than speed when you're hunting something older than the interstate system. I pulled out of the garage, past Mama's Jesus candle still flickering by the window. "Come back with a wife or don't come back," she'd said. I nodded like I was listening. This was it, my solo tour. The road stretched ahead like a question I wasn't ready to answer. Just me, the wind, and whatever the hell was stealing livestock and children out in the woods of Coyote Ridge. I cracked my neck, lit a cigarette, and hit the throttle. It was a Saturday, crisp and cold, with skies so clear they looked photoshopped. I stepped out of Mama's house in El Paso, boots hitting the concrete with a finality that said I wasn't coming back anytime soon. Wore my leather jacket, the one Cindy said made me look like a budget Punisher. Engine roaring beneath me, that Enfield 500 cubic centimeters. Still purred like Dad's voice on a good day. First stop, gas station off Route 180. Ice machine was broken. Guy behind the counter looked like a failed meth dealer who lost custody of his parrot. Some stranger stared too long at me near the pumps, dirty camo, thick mustache, cracked lips. Didn't blink once. I stared back until he looked away. Rule 1. Don't blink first. As the road stretched on, Mescalero Reservation came into view. I thought of Chavez, our Navajo translator from the 2010 tour. Man used to swear skinwalkers were real. Told us never to whistle at night or piss near juniper trees. He died in Iraq. Took my first smoke break, so I lit a cigarette by an old billboard with half its face peeled off. Some circus ad, Tucson's Freaks of Nature. Now it just looked like someone slashed a clown's throat. Signal flickered on my phone. 1 bar, enough to get a ghost of a text from Cindy. Hope you're doing okay. Don't die out there. I smiled. One of those crooked, tired ones. Still had her number saved under Do Not Text Drunk. Millie's pit stop came next. Chilly so bad it might qualify as biological warfare. I sat near 2 truckers muttering about the kid who went missing in a creek last week. Said he saw a man with a dog head, one said. Bet it's just a bear, the other replied. But neither sounded convinced. Cell signal died again. That's when I really knew I'd left civilization. Sunset Lodge, First Night's Motel. Flickering neon sign, $30 cash. Receptionist looked like she hadn't blinked since the Reagan administration. Room smelled like old soup and lost dreams. The TV played static. I didn't bother changing the channel. The ceiling fan ticked like a bomb, noisy, creepy, just like in the old motels, and then a howl cut through the night. Just a dog or a cryptid, I told myself. Dreams were worse. Rick screaming and his chest torn open. I woke up with my Glock aimed at the ceiling. Sunrise poured over the Texas plains. Dew on my gas tank glistened like sweat. A hawk circled above. I stopped at an abandoned barn near Snyder. Something had clawed at the door, big claws. For parallel lines, deep. Found blood, dried and flaky. Something had been dragged. Or had dragged itself. That's when I remembered Dad showing me how to fix a carburetor blindfolded. Roughly an hour later, I saw a man on the side of the road. Camo jacket, face like cracked leather. Nice bike, son, old school. Are you new around here? He asked, not even looking at me. I didn't answer, just gunned the engine. Gas ran low, pulled into a self-service pump. Card reader didn't work. Good thing I'd stashed cash in my boot like Edgar always nagged me to. Then my second smoke break. Middle of nowhere, coyotes howled in harmony like some desert choir. I smoked with my eyes scanning the brush. Something watched me. I knew that feeling. I'd felt it in Iraq. Felt it when Rick died. I didn't see anything, but it saw me. Then came the Iron Fong, a bar off the side of Highway 84. Walked in for a quick beer, old country music playing. That's when I saw that piece OPF shit. Drunk, big, ugly, grabbing the waitress. I told him to let go. He called me pretty boy. I sucker punched him. One swing he bled like a stuck hog. You're one of them, huh? He spat, eyes wide. The ones hunting things. I didn't say anything. I could feel all the eyes were on me. Fog rolled in heavy that night, early and thick. Then I checked into Ridgeview Motel. Room smelled like shit, like literal shit. An old Gideon Bible sat on the nightstand, pages torn out with verse missing. Psalm 91, I slept with one eye open. Years of hunting, and even the military teaches you to sleep while staying cautioned. Somewhere in the dreams, I was back in basic training. Drill Sergeant Thompson, thick-necked and red-faced, screamed, "You shoot like you're painting your feelings." Next target practice, I nailed 6 headshots. Rick clapped my shoulder with a wink, soft my ass. Thought about that time in the desert. "If we die out here," Rick said, squinting at the stars, "I hope it's quick." It wasn't, except that it was the most violent death that Rick could have ever imagined. Still wonder if he ever deserved that. The dogmen torture and death while being conscious. So that was how I finally reached Coyote Ridge, riding that 500 cubic centimeters, and what lies next is solving the mystery. You'd think after nearly 1,000 kilometers on a Royal Enfield and a bar fight that left my knuckles sore and conscience surprisingly clean, I'd want to hit a bar stool again or pass out for 3 days. But no, call it soldier instinct or stupidity. Instead of rest, I pointed the bike toward the only place that still vaguely respects authority in a town like Coyote Ridge, the sheriff's station. The station sat near the center of town, tucked between a gas station and an abandoned post office that probably last delivered mail when Clinton was still in office. The sheriff's building had that stale stucco beige you only see in sunburnt counties and government buildings that can't afford a repaint. The front door creaked when I pushed it open. Inside was desert silence. There was one guy behind the desk, a big man with a cowboy gut and a mustache that screamed 1985. Looked like he'd been carved out of stubborn oak and chain-smoked Marlboros. The badge on his chest said Sheriff Randall Lockett. He didn't even look up. "If you're here to report another stolen goat, there's a form." I pulled out a black leather card case and flipped it open. Inside was my mystery badge, the kind of unofficial token you flash at law enforcement when you're part of a world that doesn't show up on Google. A relic from Edgar's collection. It had the insignia of a long-defunct agency that only weirdos, spooks, and cryptid chasers knew about. He looked at it, blinked, then squinted at me. "You one of those?" I didn't answer, just nodded slowly. His tone shifted. "Well, shit is real then, as I heard." I followed him through a hallway filled with wanted posters and faded community event flyers, bake sale, fall festival, and one terrifyingly enthusiastic ad for bingo night. He led me to a back office, motioned toward a chair, and handed me a dusty binder the size of a Stephen King novel. "Those are the files that didn't make it to the press. Stuff the county said was animal-related or just chalked up to bad weather and trauma. I've been sheriff here for 12 years. Seen a lot of dumb shit. But the last 6 months? Things are different." The binder creaked open. First page was a black and white photo of mutilated cattle. Next, a family dog found skinned and hanging from a tree near the old lumber trail. Then came the missing kids, photos with captions, "Missing since September 28th. The deeper I went, the worse it got. Something was hunting these woods, and it wasn't just livestock it craved. "You're not FBI, are you?" Randall asked. "No, I am from a division that doesn't exist technically." "Good, don't like them folks. Show up late, leave early, and tell us to stay quiet. You got any background in this?" "Military recon, been hunting cryptids since 2020. He whistled. "You're either crazy or suicidal." "Maybe I am both." He took a long pause, then stood up and pulled a yellow sticky note off the corkboard behind him, scribbled address, chicken scratch handwriting. "Name's Walter Harker, retired forest ranger, lives 20 clicks east of here, in a cabin near Twin Cedars. Used to patrol the High Ridge area before the government shut it down for mineral protection. Bullshit excuse, he's seen some things. Doesn't talk to just anyone, but maybe he'll talk to you." "Thanks, Sharif, your help is appreciated," I said standing. My back cracked like dry timber. "You look like you ain't slept in a month." 3 days bike ride straight through. He smirked. Your jaw's gotten sharp like you're eating bricks, and your eyes look like they've been staring into hell. Close enough, you might say. He waved me off with the tip of the hat. Tell Walter I said hi. And if you find anything weird, don't bring it back here. We got enough ghosts. The ride eastward from town was less highway, more dirt path carved into rolling country. Autumn had painted the landscape in rust and ochre, and the air smelled like cold wood smoke. The Royal Enfield coughed a little as the trail turned bumpy, but she held on like a stubborn old war dog. About 40 minutes in, I reached the address. The Harker place sat behind a bent iron gate with a wooden sign that read, "Welcome hunters, leave your bullshit at the fence." The house was built from old pine logs, 2 stories tall, modest, but sturdy. There were wind chimes made from spent shotgun shells hanging from the porch. A rust-red pickup sat in the gravel drive, half covered in dead leaves. I knocked on the door twice. It opened before I could knock a third time. She was maybe late 60s, spry, curly gray hair tucked into a bandana, and smile lines like folded paper. "Well, hello there," she chirped, like I wasn't a complete stranger armed to the teeth. "Hi ma'am, Sheriff Lockett sent me, said your husband might have some insight." "Oh, Walt's always got insight. Some of it even makes sense. Come on in, sweetie, I just baked cornbread." The insides of the house was classic, a deer mount hung over the fireplace, but I noticed the eyes had been replaced with antique marbles, creepy, but artistic. "Walter, you there?" she called. "Someone's here from the sheriff." From the side room came a shuffle, a grunt, and the sound of something heavy being set down. Then he walked in. Tall, broad, carried himself like a man who'd seen war, wilderness, and worse. His beard was a faded silver, and one eye had been replaced by a glass one so cloudy it looked like stormy milk. The other eye sharp and ice blue, locked onto mine. "Name's Walter Harker, you look like trouble." "Corporal Dawson, but a retired one," I replied. "Trouble's usually behind me." He didn't smile, just nodded slowly. "Come on, let's talk on the porch, world's got ears these days." His wife handed me a plate of cornbread as I followed him outside. The sun was setting down. As I sat down across from him, the wind picked up, carrying with it the first real chill of the hunt. The porch creaked under our boots. Waltz settled into his chair like it had grown to fit him, and I followed suit, letting the wooden slats groan beneath me as I stretched out. The wind carried, and somewhere in the trees, a coyote let out a long, drawn-out wail. Walt leaned forward with a grunt and reached beneath the side table. Out came a half-full bottle of something amber in a dark glass. No label, no frills. "Home-brewed stuff," he said. "Ain't legal, but what is these days?" I had been sipping on cheap stuff lately, so for this liquid, I'm in, I said. He chuckled, unscrewed the cap, and handed me a dented metal cup. "So tell me," he whispered, taking his own swig, "what brings a cryptid hunter to my slice of nowhere?" I gave him the short version: the Marines, Rick, the Dogman in Nevada, the cryptid hunts with Edgar. How Edgar lost his arm in Texas, packed up his gear, and took off for Thailand like it was a vacation instead of retirement. How I'd taken up the reins alone, out of guilt, purpose, maybe even spite. Waltz just listened. No interruptions, no disbelief, just the slow nod of a man who's seen his share of weird. "Yup, it makes sense," he said eventually, tapping his cup. "You're one of us." That's when his wife called out from inside. "Darling, what's in these duffel bags?" "They're heavier and fat." I glanced at Waltz, lowered my voice. "Can I tell her?" He gave a firm nod. "You can trust Mary with your life. I have more than once." I stood and called back, guns, ammo, silver rounds, a couple traps, and probably some unholy stench. "Oh, I like him," Mary replied. They weren't just aware of the world I lived in, they were part of it. A rare comfort. Most folks either laughed or looked for a straitjacket. But here, they just asked if I wanted more whiskey. Waltz leaned back, eyes drifting toward the tree line. You ever read that Reddit thread, Nah Sleep or Paranormal Texas? There's this one post about a hairless coyote with human teeth seen near Coyote Ridge. Another talked about an old well behind the Methodist cemetery, said it whispers your name in German. And then there's the classic, the Coyote Ridge shadow, a tall, thin figure that walks the treetops. Local kids say it only comes out during harvest moons. I've read those, I said. Didn't think much of them. You should. Some of them are stupid, made-up junk, but a few? Real for sure, I know because I've seen them. Not the Reddit versions, but the real damn thing they came from. I sat forward. Start from the beginning. He took another sip, then spoke. Back in '91, I was stationed over at High Ridge, real remote stuff. No cell phone towers, we had CB radios and a first aid kit duct taped to the dashboard. We'd patrol trailheads, watch for fires, keep teens from doing coke in the bushes. You know, standard ranger crap. But fall of 1992? That's when things changed. We got a report about hikers going missing near Briar Gulch, small gorge east of here, now sealed off. I went to check it out. Nothing unusual at first, but I found a trail off the main path looked new. Freshly carved. Trees were bent, like something tall had pushed through them. I followed it for maybe a mile, and then I heard this humming. Not human, not mechanical. It vibrated in my chest. Then I found a clearing full of deer corpses, stacked like firewood. All their hearts missing. He paused, took another drink. I radioed it in. They said it was a cougar kill. Cougar, I've seen what a cougar does. It doesn't rip out hearts and leave the rest untouched. I filed a report. Got a suspension instead. Let me guess, I said. They told you to forget it. He nodded, but I didn't. Over the years, I saw more strange footprints, bipedal, canine, burned circles in the woods. People reporting whispers in dead languages. Even came across a woman once, naked, wandering near the riverbank at dawn. Skin pale as wax, eyes like a fox. She smiled at me, had blood on her lips. We sat there in silence for a moment. It wasn't disbelief that hung between us. It was memory. I asked him, "Why'd you stop?" "Because they told me to retire. Gave me a pension. Closed off half the park. Said it was due to endangered moss." Moss? Dawson, can you believe that? And my boys, they didn't believe a word of it. Grew up, moved to Canada. Said the town was too slow. Too backward, they wanted cities, tech, money. I nodded. Yeah, my mom's still in El Paso. Still lights a Jesus candle in the window. Still thinks I need a girlfriend. Tried to hook me with strong-hipped girls. Walt chuckled. Mary tried to do the same. Said our youngest should date the pharmacist's daughter. Girl had teeth like a badger. We both laughed, not because it was that funny, but because it felt good to. He looked at me and said, "This stuff, it eats away at you. Not just the fear, the knowing that most folks go their whole lives blind. But once you see behind the curtain, there's no going back." The wind picked up again. Leaves rustled. An owl hooted somewhere deep in the trees. "You planning on going into those woods?" he asked. "Yeah, I need to see what's out there." He tapped his glass to mine. "Then you'll need more whiskey. And a whole lot of different ammo. I guess you know the silver already." Waltz leaned back in his creaking porch chair, nursing his whiskey, eyes scanning the horizon like something might slither in from it. "I know why you're here, Corporal," he said, calm as a monk but sharp as a tack. "That Dogman business, the one that tore up cattle and left families hollow. Yeah, I've been following the mess." I didn't speak, just sipped the sharp home brew he'd poured. God, it hit like napalm, but in the best way. He lit a cigarette and continued. 3 missing kids in 6 weeks. Livestock slaughtered like ritual. One woman said she saw a naked man with fur licking blood off her barn. Cops blamed it on tweakers. Another boy went missing near a hunting trail. Only thing they found was his shoe, still tied. I remembered the headlines. Teen girl vanishes near Ridge Creek, hound from hell spotted near fence line, missing dog reports spike in East Texas. Sheriff Lockett's folder had all of it. I didn't realize Waltz had read them too. Or maybe he'd lived them before they made the papers. Things not just some beast, he muttered. It's old, smart, back when I was still patrolling the Ridge sector, before the feds shut it down for mineral rights, we used to call it the Walker. Locals claimed it didn't even eat people until recently. Now I think it's injured. Think it's tired of chasing deer, wants easier meals. He paused, looked me square in the eye. You ever marked like a hunter, Dawson? Tracked something, moved with it, thought like it? I swallowed hard. Not really, Edgar always did the tracking, I shot. He laughed softly. That's what I figured. You're a good trigger, but you've never watched a predator long enough to know what it wants. Tonight, you learn patience. Waltz stood up, joints popping. We've got a treehouse a mile from here. Built it for my grandkids before they left for Canada. It's got a clear line of sight to the farmland where some of the cattle were taken. He pointed to a map drawn crudely on the back of a Pizza Hut menu. Near the Miller fence. We go there now. You bring your Lapua, yeah? Always, that's my primary along with the FN Scar, I said, standing up and grabbing my duffel. Inside was my custom-built .338 Lapua Magnum bolt-action rifle, carbon stock, 5-round detachable mag, topped with a Vortex Razor HD scope, loaded with silver core ballistic tips. Overkill maybe, but if you've seen what I've seen, you don't aim to wound. Waltz pulled the keys to an old 1989 Dodge Ram Charger, beat-up maroon paint job, deer antlers wired to the grill, and a pine scent air freshener that had long since surrendered. He climbed in, rifle across his lap, and I followed. The ride to the site was rough. Dirt roads turned into ruts, headlights barely catching the creeping mist curling between tree trunks. The wind howled like some ancient warning. We said nothing. We parked 50 yards from the treehouse. Didn't want engine noise giving us away. Waltz handed me a small thermos, hot black tea, he said. No whiskey until the job's done. We climbed up. The platform was sturdy, old but well kept. A layer of dead leaves lined the floor. The inside smelled like cedar and dust. A mounted pair of binoculars faced the fence line. Waltz unrolled a thick mat and laid flat. I mirrored him. Don't breathe too hard, he whispered. Night vision goggles on, Lapua ready, a red beam sight softly dancing along the scope's edge, and we waited and waited. 3 hours passed. My back felt like it had been stomped on by a mule. Crickets stopped chirping somewhere in the second hour. The silence was total, save for Waltz's soft breaths and the occasional creak of the wood. The moon hung high. Waltz shifted slightly beside me and muttered, almost witching hour. Then there was movement. Something rustled near the fence line. Bushes trembled. My finger went to the trigger. We both held our breath. It was just a mangy coyote, sniffing, limping, nothing more. Waltz sighed softly and leaned back, whispering with a grin, not every shadow is a nightmare. But one of them will be. We went back to silence, waiting for that one shadow that was of the beast. Another hour passed. I shifted my weight on the wood panels of the treehouse. My back ached like hell. Lower spine screamed like an overworked diesel engine. I reached back with a quiet grunt and squeezed the muscle below my shoulder blade, hoping to press the ache away. That's when it happened. It is a mistake, Waltz hissed beside me, not turning from his scope. The woods hear that. The damn thing hears that. His whisper was dry, like leaves crushed under boot. You move, you make noise, you tell it you're out here, he muttered. And trust me, if it knows you're hunting, it won't show. I froze, took a deep breath, slow as the moon's crawl across the sky. It was so quiet I could hear the moisture in my own throat when I swallowed. The minutes ticked by in silence. Waltz didn't even blink. The old man had discipline. Ranger discipline, The kind forged not in boot camps but in decades of listening to trees talk and the wind confess. Then he moved. Waltz lowered his rifle, detached the night scope slowly and whispered, "It won't come, not tonight for sure." I turned to look at him. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "That thing is smart. I've seen it happen before, knows when it's being baited, senses it." We climbed down from the treehouse. My knees popped like knuckles cracking. The night was still clear. Moon above us, full and silver. We walked back to his old vehicle. Engine rumbled to life and we drove in silence. The countryside around us rolled by, quiet and gentle. Bugs danced in the moonlight. Coyotes cried somewhere far off, sharp little yips and barks that echoed. When we pulled into his driveway, the porch light was off, but there was light. The door opened before Waltz even cut the engine. His wife stood there with a rifle in one hand and the other resting against the door frame. Her silhouette was calm, but poised. That wasn't the first time she opened the door that way. It was practiced muscle memory. Like she knew we'd be coming back without answers. Like she knew something could have followed. Waltz stepped out first. "All quiet, love?" he said, raising his hand. "No noise, no movement." She nodded, not relaxing, not yet. "He's staying the night," he added. "Show him the guest room?" She nodded again, lowered the rifle, still didn't speak. I stepped through the doorway quietly, not wanting to disrupt the rhythm of whatever this household had perfected. The whole place had the smell of old leather, and whatever gun oil Waltz seemed to have marinated his life in. She motioned down the hallway, and I followed. The guest room had a single bed, made with military corners, and an old bookshelf filled with hunting guides, cryptid field notes, and what looked like a leather-bound Bible. I set my duffel down, pulled off the boots, washed my face in the sink just beside the closet door. The mirror showed a man whose eyes had sunk in deeper, jawline sharpened by the road, shoulders tighter from miles of posture and paranoia. Lit the cigarette by the window. Took a drag, let it hang in the air like a question no one wants to ask. The stars outside blinked. Crawled into bed, and for the first time in days, I slept without dreaming. 4 hours, that's how long I slept. Not 5, not 4.5. 4 hours of unfiltered, no dream, no interruption, brick slab sleep. The kind of sleep that doesn't ask for permission or provide a welcome mat, just knocks you flat and disappears before sunrise. I woke up to the low, rhythmic knock on the wooden door. "Coffee's ready, son. Come join us," came Mrs. Mary's soft call from the hallway. Her voice was calm, sweet, and had that edge of warmth. There's no cinematic fresh-up montage in this kind of life. No slow jazz, no steamy mirror writing, no towel wrapped like a 5-star robe. You just move. I got up, spine creaking like an old gate, and hit the shower. 3 minutes. That's all I allowed myself under the lukewarm spray. It wasn't hot, but it was clean. The kind of water that takes a piece of your tension with it. Maybe it's just the sound of water hitting the tile that does it, or maybe the sensation temporarily pushes out the memories. Like Rick's scream, or the moon over Nevada. I toweled off fast. 2 minutes later, I was zipped up, laced, buckled. Still got that clockwork rhythm etched into my bones. 3 years retired and the military still hasn't shaken off. Downstairs, the morning felt like a break in time. No one mentioned dogmen or disappearing kids. Just coffee in ceramic mugs, eggs on chipped plates, and the smell of toast that leaned a little too close to burnt. Waltz and Mary sat across the wooden table, nodding to me like I was part of the household. It reminded me of my folks back in El Paso. The old house with the Jesus candle flickering in the window. The silence between a family that knows how to speak without talking. We ate. Mary told me about her garden, and Waltz complained about the county's new hunting permit regulations. For 20 minutes, we weren't cryptid chasers. We were just people. But peace never lasts long in this business. "Follow me, son," Waltz said after breakfast, rising with a grunt that carried decades of joint damage. "Got something to show you, bring that coffee." He led me through the narrow hallway to what looked like a repurposed storage room. The wood-paneled walls were cracked in places, the ceiling slightly bowed, but the heart of the room was unmistakable. A large corkboard nailed with layers of yellowed maps, yarn lines, and hand-pinned Polaroids. It wasn't cluttered, it was methodical, like the inside of a field operative's mind. "Look here carefully," Waltz muttered, pointing with a calloused finger, "is 15 years worth of sightings. Some mine, some passed down from other rangers. Before the internet turned cryptids into TikTok trends." The canvas had over 30 markings, each a symbol, a date, a note scribbled in ink so faded it looked like it had bled into the map. "This is Point A," he said, tapping near a place labeled Wheelers, a stretch of land near the tree line west of town. "That's where I saw it first in 2011. Middle of a full moon. Back then I thought it was a bear, but it wasn't." I leaned closer. The pin was red, scribbled beneath it, "I shine, bipedal, 2:11 a.m., cattle eviscerated, no tracks." Waltz moved to a blue tack farther east, closer to the edge of town. "That's where Sheriff Lockett found the boot. Just the boot, kid was 14. Went missing walking back from the high school field." I read the note under it. "September 2023, rainstorm, no scent trail, shoe found torn near irrigation ditch." And this one, Waltz pointed to a yellow pin at a place named Miner's Fork, an abandoned mine shaft near the ridgeline. That was July. 2 hikers went missing. One came back. Couldn't speak for 3 days. All he did was draw the same thing: big head, long mouth, claws like crowbars. I scanned the lines between the points. A pattern, like the arch of a predator's path. Circling tighter, closer to the township. "What are these?" I asked, pointing to green markers shaped like half-moons. "Moon cycles. Every red marker you see lines up with full moons, except 2. He walked over to a smaller board beside the main one. It had printouts from news articles, some weather charts, and photos of missing persons. "It doesn't always follow the moon anymore. That's what's off, it's changing. Changing, mutating, maybe learning. Could it be a different one?" I asked. Waltz shook his head. "Could be, or maybe it's the same bastard, just meaner, hungrier, older." He picked up something from the shelf nearby. A knife. Long, curved, and forged in a way that screamed purpose. The blade had that butcher's weight to it. "You use it to take something apart. Ever skin game?" Waltz asked. I nodded. "Once, with Edgar, a skin crawler in southern Canada." He handed the knife over. "This ain't silver, just steel, but it'll teach you respect. Poachers use it, ranchers too. It's a hunter's blade." I tested the balance. It felt right, dangerous, heavy with implication. "Found an interesting section. Look here," he continued, pointing to another section of the map. "These last markings from the past 4 weeks. 2 missing livestock reports near Dogleg Creek, 1 kid vanished outside Bellevue Trailer Park, and something weird near the Oren farmstead. Found 3 dead goats, all missing their tongues." The reports had local sheriff notes. "No blood trail, puncture wounds to skull, internal organs removed with precision." "Say what precision?" I asked. "Yeah, you heard it right," Waltz nodded grimly. "Not a coyote, not a damn mountain lion either. This thing isn't just eating." He sat back, arms crossed. "Here's the thing that bugs me, son. This one, it's not some wild animal, it's smart. Knows when we're watching, avoids trail cams, never repeats the same ground. Shapeshifter kind of?" I offered, though my tone was more tired than curious. "Maybe true, maybe not," Waltz muttered. "Or maybe it just stopped pretending to be a beast and started pretending to be a man." That stopped me. My eyes narrowed. "You think it's among people?" He looked at me then. That one working eye of his, cloudy but cutting. "I think it could be anything it damn well wants to be." I didn't flinch. In this line of work, if something sounds crazy, you're probably close to the truth. "Why do you think it's after humans now?" I asked. "Why go from cattle to kids?" Waltz stared at the board. "I think it got wounded, maybe dying. Desperate things make mistakes. They get lazy. But they also get clever. And it's easier to take down something that doesn't fight back." He didn't say anything for a while. Just let the silence sit. Then, in a quieter tone, "You ever tracked solo before?" I shook my head. Not without Edgar. He did most of the groundwork. I just took the shots. Waltz sighed, and it wasn't disappointment, it was understanding. Tonight we start slow. I'll show you how to mark a path. How to wait without falling asleep. First thing you gotta learn is patience. His words weren't condescending. They were passing the torch. We both stood there, staring at that map. Dozens of tacks, dozens of names. But only one thread. The thing in the woods wasn't just a cryptid. It was a mystery wrapped in hunger. Waltz poured himself a half glass of his homemade whiskey, handed me the bottle, and leaned on the edge of the table, gesturing toward the map. I ain't fully sure what we're dealing with, but we're going to hunt the damn thing. Daylight's on our side for now. He said it calm, almost casual, but his eyes told a different story, steeled with some kind of unfinished business. I asked him straight up, "You've been tracking this one for years, haven't you? That treehouse stunt last night wasn't some rookie trap. You've been itching to finish this." He didn't deny it. "This one's personal. It's been running laps around me long enough." He pointed again at the canvas map. "See this sun?" He traced the sightings, markers forming a pattern. "These locations, they ain't random. They form a crude circle, radius just under 4 miles. The center of it? Fort Macklin's eastern boundary," he said. I could feel the adrenaline spike. That damn old, restricted patch of federal land. Supposedly sealed off for mineral preservation under some bullshit environmental act. But every cryptid hunter worth his boots knew it was a black spot. No flyovers, no cell signals, and lots of stories. "Smart guess for a professional," Waltz muttered. "That place is the core. We're hunting at the edges, but it lives in there." The bastard wasn't just wandering. This was calculated, patterned, predatory. He tapped 4 new points on the map: old cattle farms, rural plots with poor fencing and poor families, soft targets. "We'll rotate across them, post up, stake out. The damn thing is fast, but if it's injured like you said, missing digits on the right foot, it's got a weakness." We packed up for a mobile hunt, Waltz's rust-red 1989 Dodge Power Ram, a beast of a truck, coughed to life as we loaded gear. MREs, filtered water, his old Winchester sniper rifle, my Lapua with silver core rounds. Smoky bourbon, carton of smokes. The dashboard was cracked. The glove box held a copy of Field and Stream from 1997, and the ashtray was full. We didn't need modern, we needed reliable. We camped first near Caldwell Farm, where the family had lost 3 cows in the span of 10 days. We started camping near a different location each night. That morning we stopped at an abandoned cattle trail just east of the last treehouse post. The terrain was soft. Damp dirt told stories most eyes couldn't read, but Waltz wasn't most eyes. He crouched down with a grunt, brushing over a partial print. 2 sets of huge claws or feet, he whispered. Big one's wounded, right foot's missing length in the toes. Could be dragging that foot. Or healed wrong, I asked. Can be either way, Waltz said, but we're close. We followed the tracks north through knee-high brush. Then they vanished, right where the ground turned to soft grass. We scoured every patch, every snapped stem, but nothing. And then, 40 yards ahead, prints reappeared, spaced higher, lighter. It took the trees, I muttered. Waltz spat to the side. Smart, sneaky bastard. He was right. Dogmen, especially the older ones, learned over time. Learned how to lose scent, how to loop trails, how to avoid drones and cameras. This one didn't just survive, it evolved. Then we set camp near a patch of field west from the treehouse, just within rifle range. Same drill, flatbed out, tarp up. Scope zeroed to 300 yards, we lay in silence, every sound dissected. Just coyotes, maybe a possum, maybe wind, maybe nothing. Another failure, another stiff-backed night under stars that didn't offer answers. Just like that, we became observers again, silent, patient. Night after night. Same drill, lay flat in blinds, rifles aligned, Vision scopes checked twice. And always nothing. Coyotes howled, wind danced, but no beast. 5 days, one of them under a full moon. No signs yet, no smell whatsoever. We stayed disciplined, taking turns for watch. Every night Waltz would whisper his theories like riddles into the dark. If it's hurt, it'll circle. If it's smart, it's watching us now. If it's both, hell, we're bait. I kept pushing for bait setups. Raw meat, pheromone traps, blood scents. He refused every time. You think we're hunting it? We're already the lure. That thing's watching always. We move, it watches, we camp, it counts our hours. Each failed night wore on us. We stopped pretending to celebrate meals. Just drank to the silence. Cursed the stillness. Nothing but cold whiskey, cramping joints, and disappointment. Same whiskey, same posture, same silence. We sat under that moon, perched in the blind like relics. My breath fogged the glass on the scope. I asked Waltz again about bait. Dead meat, a bleeding goat, some raw aggression, anything to stir the bastard out. He didn't even look at me. You think we ain't bait already? It got quiet after that. Sixth night, October 2023, 1:47 a.m. We were packing to relocate again. Just stacking the last of our gear in the Ramcharger when Waltz muttered, "Do you feel it?" I did, something primal. The kind of instinct you can't unlearn. My pulse dropped, breath steadied. That silence that comes before a fight. I turned to him. "Keep driving, don't stop." Headlights swept across a bend in the road, and there it was. Black, massive, hunched over a carcass, looked like a horse. No, it was a horse. Ripped open, flesh and intestines mangling all over the dust. For once my instinct screamed that this bastard loved chewing on soft tissue. That thing, the Dogman, was bigger than I imagined. Its limbs were long, forearms thicker than logs, chest like it had been chiseled from hell's granite. It snarled but didn't run. Just stared. Eyes yellow and shimmering like oil under flame. "Don't stop driving," I whispered, but Waltz did. My side window rolled halfway. I aimed my Remington. The Lapua rounds locked and chambered, exhaled slowly. "Do it, Corporal," Waltz said, voice level. I pulled the trigger. The Lapua hit center mass. The thing didn't drop. It leapt like physics just gave up. In a blink, it crossed 20 feet and slammed into the truck. The fucking engine rocked. Glass cracked. I barely held the rifle steady. Waltz didn't flinch. He reached under the dash and fired a slug from his Magnum, straight through the windshield. Hit the engine block. The hood sparked. The Dogman howled, first time I heard it scream. Not like an animal. Like a war cry in pain, soaked in rage. "Light it up," Waltz yelled. I ducked out the window, fired again, into the bushes it had vanished into. More shrieks, and then nothing but rustling leaves. We took steady to our feet. The thing bled black like it was draining tar. Waltz stood over the splatter, Magnum still steaming, face as unreadable as carved wood. The creature had left a trail, no doubt about it. Every footstep a bleeding stamp. We didn't waste a second. Waltz pointed forward, no words, I followed. Adrenaline spiked high enough to make me feel lightheaded. We reloaded on the move. Waltz slapped in a speed loader like a bartender slamming whiskey into a glass. I chambered a new mag into the Scar FN and clicked the safety off. 45 minutes of fast walking and slow stalking followed, zigzagging through the backwoods like bloodhounds on heroin. The howls got weaker. But the smell? A foul, rotting stench of something that shouldn't breathe the same air we do. We passed broken branches, more black sludge, and eventually the trail pulled us deeper into rocks and mud. Our boots slid, our breathing rasped. My flashlight caught something. A glint in the brush. We raised our rifles. There it was, crouched against the side of a rocky alcove. 7, maybe 8 feet tall. Limping, snarling through bloodied teeth. It was injured, or at least the hunt was leading was somewhere. Waltz didn't hesitate. Then one shot from the hunting rifle. I went full auto. 10 rounds of Lapua straight to its chest and torso. The recoil bruised my shoulder, but hell if I cared. The creature shrieked. A blend of agony, liberation, and something ancient. As we emptied our mags, the beast's height shrank before our eyes, from towering alpha to something barely 5 feet tall. It dropped to its knees. I approached, rifle raised. Its face started to fold. Bones crackled. The snout receded like it was being sucked inward, the fur pulled back into pale skin. It was becoming a man, with punctured holes in every part imaginable. I turned to Waltz. "It's dead finally." You might as well have thought that the sucker was dead. Well, let me tell you, it wasn't. Years of primal rage, caught between both worlds. Then it leapt, with black sludge, slippery skin, and the full moon hung high. Fangs found my chest. I jammed the empty rifle between its jaws, pushing hard, grunting. Blood sprayed on my vest. Its claws dug in, tearing fabric skin. The sidearm in my holster? Out of reach. My Glock holster saved me. It caught the claw's swipe meant for my gut. Waltz fired so precise that it could feel the muzzle velocity of the bullets that hit the creature that was above. Our breaths collided. Then I grabbed my silvered Bowie blade. 7 inches of serrated edge, used more for digging trenches than killing cryptids, but hell, it did the job. I drove it into the beast's neck, twisted, pulled its matted ears, stabbing the blade further. And then silence, black blood bubbled around us. I stood over the twitching body, its head now half detached, hanging by tendons. And then with every inch of my strength left, I severed the head off. I kicked the body off me, finally breathing. Waltz sat beside me, handed over his small pocket bottle of tin cup whiskey. We didn't speak. 3 cigarettes back to back. Later, I was still sitting in the dirt, blade in one hand, severed head in the other. Waltz leaned back against a rock. I asked if he'd done this before. Yeah, once. But some secrets are better not told. People join this hunting business, or even collect stuff for the internet, live streaming dark places, only to end up dead, because there are no second chances, he said. Didn't end this clean, but son, you're gifted. We waited till sunlight, standard protocol. The area was a mess. Bushes burned from muzzle flash. The trees looked half alive. As morning broke, we saw the sign just 30 yards off. Warning. Federal land. Restricted zone. Trespassing punishable by law. Yes, same old story. Mineral rights, government red tape. We brought Waltz's battered truck, old 1989 Dodge Ram Charger round. The back seat still smelled like sweat and metal. We wrapped the corpse in a tarp, or what was left of it. Except there wasn't a corpse anymore. Just a headless old man. Gut strewn around, hairline receding, age spots. Like someone's damn grandfather just happened to wander into the wilderness. Waltz was stone cold. Shapeshifter, classic, you kill the beast, the body reverts. We checked the perimeter, bones, dozens, human, animal. Some stacked into something almost ceremonial, a 10-foot hill of skeletons. I didn't say anything, neither did he. We burned what we could and buried what we feared. At Waltz's cabin, he took the old map and scratched a red X through the final circle. Case closed. I left that afternoon. Gave the sheriff a wink and tossed him a duffel bag with a gift he'd never dare unzip. "Tell them it's a wild hog," I said. The Royal Enfield roared to life. I rode back with blood still drying on my jacket. Motels came and went. Beer tasted better. Sleep came worse. I got home 5 days later. First thing I did? Acid bath. Stripped the skull. It's on my shelf now. Under my boots. Right next to a stack of case notes and a half bottle of Jameson. Yeah, it was a leakin'. Not your storybook werewolf. Not your teenage drama nonsense. A full-grown, shape-shifting son of a bitch that wore human skin like a bad Halloween mask. I texted Edgar. No reply. But I sent it anyway. Old man. I scored a leakin'. If you liked today's episode, do show some love and support the channel. More monster hunts from the life of Ex-Corporal Dawson to come in the future. Thank you very much.